Hello and welcome to the 21 Days Face Your Fears online challenge. I'm Bristena, transformation facilitator, energy therapist and writer, and my mission is helping people heal their past so as to be able to pursue the life of their bliss. I'm super excited to be your host on your journey of personal growth and empowerment through fearlessness and the power of community. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Lauren Alten. Hi Lauren.
Good morning. Hello.
Lauren is certified in EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, Matrix Reimprinting, and is a licensed affirmative prayer practitioner. She specializes in showing women how to achieve their ideal weight and live a life that is slim, whole, and free. Her focus is not about getting to a physique that others find beautiful, but in releasing the limiting beliefs that women may have about their body, restoring health and balance, and feeling empowered to live their life purpose, which is that spark of creativity within each of us. Welcome, Lauren. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction.
Okay, so I'm curious on your personal journey and on the journey that you've experienced on working with your clients. What are some of the greatest fears or themes related to blogs or challenges that you'd like to share some experience on?
Oh boy, that's huge. So I will just start with my own personal journey. Back in my youth, I was raised with two older brothers, and the evening meal, and I was fortunate enough to have a mom that was a wonderful cook and a very harmonious, amazing family. But every evening with two older brothers, I was in this sea of masculine energy that was everybody diving for food. And so what I came away from that experience with was an experience of, man, you better grab it while it's there and you better eat it fast because it may disappear.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in my early years, that didn't really show up so much as a problem, but I never shifted that belief system or that viewpoint. And so as I got on into adulthood, that no longer really served me. Coupled with that, one of the things that you can't tell from looking at me on Skype is I am 6 feet tall in my stocking feet. So I have this experience of people just noticing me. So the weight for me was also about insulation and protection and hiding out. It didn't work that way, but that was my underlying intention, and it was so under the surface in all respects that it wasn't even something that I was aware of, that I was trying to insulate and hide. So I had gone in and out of all these different diet programs. I tried everything under the sun, but I never came to that deep inner conflict resolution that allowed the weight to be released, because we all know what it is that holds weight in place. Everybody that has long-term weight issues knows how to diet. The problem is, unless you resolve those inner conflicts in conjunction with being on a healthy eating program, then you're just going to start packing on the pounds again. So for me, it began when I was on my spiritual journey. I finally came to that inner place of peace, and that was one aspect of it, where I was able to connect with something that was larger than myself, and a realization that we are all connected, and the things that I think that I'm hiding out about, or that the unresolved issues with myself in relation to the other people on the planet, it's like, no, we've all got the same stuff going on. And then my original intention with the EFT was, I have a Marine Corps son who came back from his war experiences in Afghanistan and was a very changed young man. So my original intent with EFT was I was going to help returning war veterans with post-traumatic stress. That was the mission I was on. Well, the returning war veterans really took a look at me and said, yeah, I don't think you really relate to my experiences. And the people that were drawn into my client office were women with weight issues. Oh, how funny. So at that time, I was still significantly overweight myself, and I decided, okay, I've just got to face these demons myself. So I started doing the tapping work actually with another practitioner, because I think it's very difficult to get to those deep inner places on your own, because we're so used to working around our own agenda, and we kind of buy into our own BS a little bit too much. But through that, I was able to finally gain peace around the emotional component. So I had the spiritual part, the emotional part, and then the final component piece for me was realizing that there were certain specific foods that were very triggering for me. Most specifically, sugar and processed flours. And just like, and they truly, for a third of the population of the planet, they light up the same brain receptors of addiction as a person who is getting a hit of heroin or cocaine when they are addicted. So for me, trying the moderation approach, well, you can eat anything you want, just do little bits, is about the same idea as telling an alcoholic, well, just cut back to one glass of wine a night. It's like, it doesn't work. So it was only when I got that completely out of my system that I was finally able to be on a program of whole, beautiful food, not pills, powders, and potions, but real food in moderation in a program that absolutely works. So in my own experience, I've now lost 50 pounds. I am at a place in my life where I know that it's not ever, I'm not going to need to ever revisit that, because I've done the healing work around the food, around the emotional issues, and around my spiritual presence that just works.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing your wonderful story. And my next question for you related to body weight and self-image. What have you found in your experience so far with working with clients? What are some of the main fears that come up when we're trying to lose weight, or when we're trying to regain a sense of inner worth relating to our image?
So we develop our self-worth and our self-image really at a very young age, but we tend to draw to us, based out of those early on beliefs, we tend to draw to us the experiences that reinforce it. So whether it's an experience of, some sort of a trauma that our core belief that was developed out of that original trauma is, I'm not worthy, or life is unfair, life is unsafe, you can't trust people around you, whatever that belief is, we tend to keep being in those same cycles where those beliefs get reinforced. So if you have a core belief of, I'm not worthy, then of course you're not going to express yourself in terms of this radiant, beautiful being that is beautiful to your own eyes. And I really emphasize over and over to the women, and I specifically deal with women because I think that women's weight issues are very different from men's, but we tend to want to shelter ourselves and to reinforce, well, I am unworthy. Look at me. I mean, you can just tell I'm unworthy, rather than that expression of our own vision of our most beautiful selves. So here I am at age, I'll fess up because I know it's just you and me listening to this, right? At age 62,
Oh, wow.
and I feel better than I have felt in decades. And
Wow.
I feel, and it's not a function of youth. I'm not the 20-something spandex cloud babe bouncing into the aerobics class, but I feel so whole and healed within
Mm.
myself, and that's really the thing that I want to energize within my clients. And the types of fears that I see emerging from doing the one-on-one work that I do is there's a history of sexual abuse. There's a history of emotional verbal abuse, the child being told, you're no good. You'll never amount to anything. For me, I had such a loving, wonderful family upbringing, and yet I remember, everything is relative to our own childhood experience. So what I knew about life and my place within it was I'm loved, I'm safe, this is a really good life. And there was one time where my father, with his very proper English background, said that children are to be seen and not heard.
Mm.
And man, I'm telling you what, that crushed a part of me that wanted to be seen and heard. I was
Absolutely.
that bouncy kid that was very boisterous and very much a presence. And it has taken me all these years to finally trace it back to that incident and actually be able to heal that incident and then live from a place of greater freedom and peace.
Yeah. Wow. So then it stands to reason that we need to look back into our childhood and see what were the traumas that we were exposed to as children, what environments, our upbringing, which have instilled in us these core beliefs linked to our core fears. So, what is your approach in working with that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So this really is just the love of art, and I think it is very unique. I know that the type of people that are your listeners and your audience quite possibly aware of EFT, the tapping through the tapping on acupressure points
Yes.
to send a new message to the amygdala that it's okay to stand down. And for the presence of panic and fear and anxieties that are in the room right now, that is a wonderful approach. Where Matrix Reimprinting takes a kind of a divergent approach is the reason that we have fear in our life, and this whole work that you're about is the releasing of fear.
Yes.
And what is it that fear keeps us from doing, and how do we address that? The reason we have fear in our life is because there is some past experience that said there's a reason to be afraid. There really is. There was a tiger in the cave at some point in time, and at that moment in time, fear was a very appropriate response. We needed to beat feet out of the cave so that we were safe. Our ancestors learned this, the ones that survived. But 10 years later, when a pop-up shows up and it's a picture of a tiger and you're having that same anxiety response, that's not so useful. So what Matrix Reimprinting does, and I'll give you just a quick example, and this one is probably more relevant than the tiger because not many of us experience tigers in our lives. So let's say young Susie is 3 years old, and every night she has this ritual where she bounds on into either the bedside with mom or sitting on the side of the sofa with her, And every night it is just snuggle time with mom, and they, hug and snuggle, and then mom tucks her into bed, and she drifts off into slumberland knowing she is safe and loved. So on this one particular evening, she does her evening routine. She's got her jammies on, and she jumps in onto the sofa, and there's mom. But mom is strangely aloof. And it may be that mom has a cold. She's coming down with a bug, and she just doesn't want little Susie to get the cold. But she doesn't explain that to Susie. All Susie knows is mom is somehow aloof and unavailable. Okay, so if you are a person observing all of this, you would never think that this was going to be a trauma. But here are the elements of a trauma. The first one is that it is either identity threatening or life threatening. Now, mom doesn't bring out a baseball bat and start clubbing Susie and telling her to get the heck out of the room, but it is identity threatening in that Susie has always identified herself as mom's golden child. And now, all of a sudden, there's this new paradigm showing up where that may no longer be the case. The second is, it's a shock. It came out of nowhere. She couldn't possibly have predicted that this was going to be showing up in her life. So, and then the third element is she's all alone. She's without resource. She doesn't have anybody to turn to in the room. She doesn't, through her 3-year-old mindset, she doesn't really have the wherewithal to turn to mom and say, hey, mom, what's up? Why are you acting strangely tonight? So she takes with her everything that's in the room. The blue on the wall, the feeling of the fabric underneath her, the sound of a jet going overhead. And all of that gets put into a trauma capsule. And it has to be set aside because we are programmed in the moment of a trauma to take all of that crazy stuff and set it aside, because if there really is a tiger in the room, we don't have the luxury of wondering, I wonder if the tiger's already had lunch or if I'm lunch. No, we just have to move forward with whatever is present that we have to respond to. So 30 years go by. Oh, so out of that, 3-year-old Susie makes a decision about life. And the decision in that case might be you just can't count on the people that say they love you. So fast forward 30 years, little Susie is now all grown up. She has met the man of her dreams. Oh my gosh, she is so in love. So she's about to jump into the sack with, Johnny Angel, and she just knows this is going to be the best thing ever. But Johnny Angel is like, hang on, Susie, I've got to text the boys. We're meeting for coffee in the morning, and he's totally unavailable. And all of a sudden, there's like this, part of her that's saying, wait a minute. And then she notices that there's the color blue on the wall and the sound of a jet going overhead and the feel of this fabric. And she is absolutely back into that point of original decision that you can't count on the people that you love. So then she starts acting as if that's the truth. And she turns to Johnny Angel and she says, I just knew you were no good. And she starts acting as if. And he may be running some program out of his past that says, you can't count on women because they are erratic and crazy. And pretty soon they're having a fight that is based on elements that have nothing to do with either of them in that moment. And they have no idea that that's what's really at play in the room. So we're this field of energy that has this choir of our echo selves that live in our field of energy, our biofield. Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about this in epigenetics. Love him.
Me too.
I know, isn't he just lovely?
Yes.
He's just so high energy and emphatic about his speaking. So we're walking around with this choir of selves from our past that are warning us about, oh my gosh, there's this belief system, and it's only when we can actually step into that field. And here is what I do with Matrix Reimprinting, because for most people, if you ask them, hey, you want to go visit a past trauma, they would just be saying, no, don't want to go there, that's too ugly. But with Matrix Reimprinting, what we do is we stay grounded in our present day selves, and we step into the picture not to become the young trauma self, but to freeze everything that's going on, and then to walk up to the young self and say, I'm you, I'm here from the future, and I'm here to help. So it immediately starts to break up the trauma capsule by connecting with the younger self that felt isolated and unattended, unheard, and start to resource that younger self so that they now know, wait a minute, I've got an ally here. There is resource that can be brought into this picture, and it starts to break up and dissolve these echo pasts that can then learn to stand down out of their fear, which empowers us in such a huge way. It is really magnificent work.
Thank you very much for this wonderful explanation of what Matrix Reimprinting is about. It's one of my favorite energy healing techniques that I also use in my practice, and I think it's people listening to this should definitely do more research into it, and if they want to investigate and open up to the possibility of healing these past echoes, these past traumas, be they big or small, to get in touch with us, and we're here for them to help them and guide them on their journey of past healing in order to be able to release their fears.
Yes.
Okay, Lauren. How can people reach you if they'd like to contact you then?
So I have a website that's called Slim, Whole, and Free. They can contact me through that site. Also on Facebook, same name, Slim, Whole, and Free. Coming up in August, I will have my first launch. I've been working within my local community and just doing one-on-one in-person work and doing classes and workshops here locally. But I'm about to launch a webinar series that will be a combination of available video integration as well as, or interaction, as well as one-on-one through Skype, this wonderful magic medium. And one of the things that I would ask from the community at large, one of the things that is just part of the calling of my heart is that I really want to empower women in inner city urban environments to get in touch with growing whole organic food in pots, in plots of land, in community gardens. And so I'm wanting to connect with some sort of a nonprofit organization and use part of the proceeds of my income to help promote women empowered in growing and sharing with their families and especially their children, getting back in touch with taking back charge of their own food and teaching our children that what's in those little goofy packages that is labeled ketchup actually comes from this beautiful thing called a whole beautiful tomato. So I would encourage anyone who has information about a nonprofit that is of high integrity and shares that vision to contact me.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I fully support your project. Seems like a wonderful vision, and indeed I also have a back garden and we're just planting some seeds in some little pots, and it's wonderful. We're aligned.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing your insight and your advice, and anybody who is listening to today's interview, if you liked it, please share it on your social media, and hope you start applying some of the ideas we talked about in your daily life, and seek out professional support if you want to delve deeper into your inner wounds and past traumas that where all those limiting. Say again, please.
In a gentle way.
In a gentle way, exactly. In a gentle and empowering way. And if you found this interview useful, share it on your social media. Tell your friends you're joining this amazing challenge. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Journey to Bliss, and sign up on the link below to get your free Bliss Blueprint with the 3 stages of radical transformation from within. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.